Testing, testing. Test. Testing, test. All right. And we're live. So, welcome back to another day of trial at the federal courthouse here in downtown Los Angeles. And we have some other updates on what transpired during trial. A lot of clownery for the most part, but some interesting testimony. Sadly, I had to miss most of the early day, morning, and early afternoon. I was at a couple of the council committee meetings instead, offering public comment. But with that said, over at around 2:50, 3 o'clock, we had the special master for the county testifying, and it was ruled earlier in the day that Mayor Karen Bass would, in fact, not be testifying this week at all. So there's some suspicions as to why that is. And the biggest one is timing, the fact that this has gone on for quite so long. And that the fact of the matter is Bass and her testimony can be introduced into the court in any other fashion that's much more timely. And so I think predominantly a matter of time, as well as some other major moves in order to not only hold her accountable, but get her testimony as well as records that she has authored and or has had knowledge of that have contributed to much of the homelessness fraud. So that was probably the biggest news in all this. The rest really was primarily just clownish behavior on the part of the law firm, Gibson Dunning Crutch. Honestly, just the law firm hired by the city is, they're just such a clown show. I got to show you one photo of the guy that keeps objecting to everything. This dude literally looks like Xenu, okay? The South Park interpretation of Xenu, this guy looks like a real-life human adaptation of Xenu. And honestly, I can't even, in fact, I'm going to pull up that photo real quick just so you guys can have it. But tell me how this guy is not Xenu. That's Xenu. That guy is Xenu. And then for the other camera, that's Xenu. This dude, one of the lead lawyer for the side of the city, straight up looks like Xenu. And this is the same guy that we've talked about before that has some of the funniest theatrics, where he's, walking around having this soliloquy and going on about the most asinine and irrelevant matters, and even repeatedly lying to the judge. Yesterday, he made claims that he had such an important and urgent call that he needed to immediately stop the court, while one of the biggest and most damning testimonies being given by Brian Ulf of the Share nonprofit, which was able to house 2,000 people in just short of $8 million for an entire year. All costs and services, all included, all in one in that fee. And so, out of nowhere, this Xenu character for the city, I mean, you can't make this up, right? You have Mayor Karen Bass, the Scientologist, who attends all the special meetings and gets invited to all the secret meetings and publicly touts Scientology, right? We have Scientologist Karen Bass on one side. We have the Xenu dude that literally looks like Xenu on the side of the law firm representing the city. And then you have Scientologist Heidi Feldstein Soto, who's a super simp for Scientology that will go and prosecute anybody that speaks bad on Scientology. And so, somehow, some way, even in this federal case, Scientology managed to get its disgusting tentacles into. You have a Xenu lawyer, you have Scientologist Karen Bass, and then you have super simp for Scientology Heidi Feldstein Soto. So honestly, I probably could stop there at at the updates, but I'm gonna actually give some other highlight reels. So when the special master was testifying, probably the biggest question she was asked was as to the speed for construction on units that were supposedly to be used for uh, housing and homelessness. And the question was, how did you build so fast? And her answer was, she hired a public works director. They were able to hire the recommendations and other work that she did with her deputies. Were able to hire a public works director who allegedly cut through a lot of red tape. Not much else was clarified on that, but that was an interesting point. She did make mention of a couple of interesting accounting issues that the city repeatedly had, and that she's repeatedly written letters on, and was testifying today too. The biggest item she pointed out and testified to was the fact that the city has an utter lack of expenditures for each of their purchases in relation to goods and services as provided by their homelessness programs. That, to me, as somebody that has managed ERP software that is very well in tune with generally accepted accounting principles, when you don't have expenditures for each purchase and you can't trace back as to who, what, where, when, and why, how for each purchase, you just know that there was some lump cost and allegedly some entity procured whatever alleged goods and services without any sort of proof, then you might as well just be making stuff up on the fly. Another interesting bit of testimony, in addition to the reports that the special master had written, she was testifying about how the city and county have, quote, major systemic and structural issues in managing and executing homelessness programs. And part of that concern of hers, amongst many others, was the fact that the city had no expenditures to show for the tracking of purchases and the validation of that data. Data validation is probably the biggest thing here, because we've seen again, right, in some of the reporting I've shared and the other court documents, that there's no definition, okay? There's no definition for terms that are used in these agreements. Terms like what quantifies and what does the word create mean? What does meaningful and significant reduction mean, actually defined as? What is a unit? What is a bed? What constitutes as a bed? When you're talking about the RV removal procedure and process, how are you tracking that? What is a removal of an RV? Who gets to declare when said removal gets to happen? What are the criteria for when an RV gets destroyed? What is the criteria for when an encampment gets cleared? These are very important bits of information that need to be quantified, defined, as well as the basis for the revenue generation as a part of these programs. So what I mean by that is, what's the basis for the interest rates that you're saying will be guaranteed as a net return to the landlords of the properties? How are you making that calculation? Are you going off of market value? Or are you going off of a proprietary equation? What's the actual basis? Are you going off of just a date rate and you're adjusting for inflation? And what's your adjusted rate of inflation over time that you're assuming? Or is it a dynamic rate? People are too focused on, well, the conservatorship is the end goal. Yes, but that's maybe 1% of it. I keep saying, and I'll keep saying, that the end goal is not the conservatorship. Obviously, that's going to happen. The end goal is, how do you get to that? What's the basis for that result? So what's the context to all of it? That's really the most important determining factor in all this, because otherwise you have, yet again, ill-defined terms. You have ill-defined goals and metrics and policies that have no oversight, and more specifically, they have no mandates and requirements to collect this data, which has been testified to repeatedly and admitted to repeatedly by many of the city's deputies, not the least of which has been Matthew Szabo, who's repeatedly admitted as well as other people, including the very own deputy of the mayor's office that was specifically hired to manage and oversee all of these policy initiatives as well as the programs that the mayor enacted to track and log that data. Who is tracking and logging it? How are you validating that that data is true and accurate? What do those measures look like? Who are these people that are doing the validation? Those are the important questions rather than just the simple act of conservatorship. That's the least of all everybody's worries. The conservatorship is so benign, so small, it just, in the grand scheme of things, it really doesn't mean much. And so that's what is really getting lost here. And the last point that's getting lost is the fact that the $2 billion in question is really not the big issue. $2 billion is a drop in the bucket over the delta of over a long period of time on the interest rates as these real estate deals are happening where land is being contracted for 55 years, which Matthew Szabo did, and the cost per unit and the widely fluctuating cost per unit. And that's the real big money maker here. Because when you do the math over a period of time, over the long period of time, what you see is that it's not $2 billion that's being laundered and fraud being committed against. It's really to the tune of trillions that's being stolen by city agencies, and that money is public money. That's your money, that's my money, that's the judge's money as a taxpayer. That's what's actually happening. That's the real problem. And that money, which is all publicly funded, is being used to line the pockets of special interest private groups where it's a guarantee payout. And if the city can't afford to make those guarantees as form of a cash payment, then it has to give up and relinquish assets. Those assets come in the form of parks and other recreation centers that are publicly owned and given up. It can be in the form of privatization, the privatization of utilities, whether it be telecommunications infrastructure, whether it be electrical infrastructure and so forth, that will then come into the control of a private entity. This is the problem. The people losing access to public oversight and therefore leading to less transparency and therefore leading to a higher propensity, a higher incentive to be able to get away with much more fraud, much more corruption. And the end goal of all this is really just a vicious cycle that ultimately destroys everything and everyone except for a special interest private few. And that's really the biggest story here. And the epicenter, right? The epicenter of all this, the apex that's allowing and that is doing so deliberately and has full knowledge, has actual full knowledge of all these wrongdoings, is of course, in LA particularly, the city attorney's office. As you can see, that giant building behind me. The city attorney and her deputies, as well as the city attorneys of past, the city attorneys of yesteryear, are the people counseling the city in all of these contract deals, meaning they have full knowledge of all the fraud. They are the ones also helping defend and counsel the city in these legal proceedings. And just because you have attorney-client privilege, it does not mean that attorney-client privilege extends to helping your client, in this case the city government and various other government agencies, get away with doing crime, get away with doing fraud, get away with other criminal acts. Attorney-client privilege does not extend to helping your client get away with criminal acts. And when you have knowledge of it, which they absolutely do, which has been admitted to as such, which can be also reasonably inferred as such, it's very clear that all of this is being perpetuated, all of this is being incentivized, all of this is being enabled and providing resources to occur by the city attorney's office. The apex gang, right? The creme de la creme of gang activity. Because again, what is it that the city attorney's office actually is responsible for? And as well as the DA's office, they're responsible for prosecuting criminal misdemeanors at the city attorney's office, both civilly and for corporate defendants that commit fraud, particularly developers in such underhanded deals to steal money from the public for through these homelessness initiatives, including overt and even covert acts by officials like Mayor Bass and her predecessors, because Bass is not the only one. It's the city attorney's office that's responsible for this. And the DA's office also is legally required to, and has an ethical responsibility to prosecute these same officials. And they're not doing so at the criminal level. We have a civil action right now that's been brought forward by civilians, a coalition of private firms who have brought forward a suit. And whether or not it matters, it's important to understand that the interests of those private individuals that brought forward the civil suit federally against the city government, the reason why those guys started is because they were upset that their property values were going down as a result of all the fraud and the homelessness occurring in the area. And so they didn't want to see their property values go down. So their interest, right, the coalition that's come together to sue the city, their interest is not really into helping set the pretext and all the foundation for criminal prosecution. They just want their damn money back for all the investments they've made in the downtown area. That's really what their intent and interest is. The only agencies and bodies that can actually criminally prosecute is the government. Okay? At the city level, it's the city attorney's office, and for felonies, it's the DA's office, and federally, it's the feds. And so that's an important thing to remember in all this. It's the years of patterns, not just the one-offs, but the years of looking away, of choosing deliberately not to prosecute, and having full knowledge of all this criminality that's going on. And that's who people like Heidi Feldstein-Soto are. And the rule and power that she exerts on her deputies, who willingly go along as sheep. And that's the real story here. That's the crux of all this. And in a memo, thanks to the Michelle McGinnis case, who again was one of the whistleblowers that tried outing Heidi for her corrupt behavior. She was a whistleblower for all of the selective and malicious prosecution that we've seen from City Attorney Heidi Feldstein-Soto. It's as a result of all that nonsense that she canned Michelle McGinnis. And as such, Michelle McGinnis filed a suit back in September of 2024 for a wrongful termination suit against the city. And some of the discovery and some of the proceedings that have occurred as a result of that case have shown that Heidi has stated repeatedly, quote, "We do not prosecute criminal corporate defendants." And that's a reference to not prosecuting developers for the fraud and racketeering, as well as corporate defenders also include city agencies and government agencies. We don't prosecute them for fraud. And the most interesting part, and other criminal acts, and the most interesting part about this is the fact that Heidi Feldstein-Soto herself is a banking lawyer. That's the industry she comes in, and has worked for to any capacity, to some capacity, has had affiliations, as according to the Michelle McGinnis case, with the Arthur Andersen accounting firm, which was used by the Enron Corporation at the peak of when they were committing wide-scale fraud. And now she's the she's the presiding city attorney for Los Angeles, a city that has by far the most criminality going on by government officials, in addition to other forms of criminality, but by and large at the government level. And so none of this is a coincidence. None of this happened overnight. None of this, frankly, should be a shock to anybody. Like, of course, right? Of course all of this aligns in such a fashion. And of course they're prosecuting people that speak out against political allies of the city attorney, like those that criticize Scientology, like myself and others, Jay, Scott, Cam, and so forth. Like, of course they're doing this, right? Of course. And so that's the real story here. The real perpetrators are, at the very least, at the apex, is the city attorney's office that's helping all of this criminality go by the wayside and not be prosecuted. And so that's what I urge people to keep in mind. I'm going to keep talking about it because that is the most important thing. That's why all these symptomatic other issues like my prosecution and the prosecution of others, as well as the lack of prosecution by agents of Scientology and so on, has not happened. Um, so that's the story. We've got our two returning characters on the side, and I'm going to see if they have anything to say or add about the case. The last thing I wanted to mention is the I forget her name, but she's got sort of black blonde hair, skinny uh, woman from the Gibson Dunn and Crutch law firm hired by the city. She's one of the worst attorneys I've ever seen. This lady was just badgering the special master when the special master was on the witness stand with utterly frivolous and asinine, irrelevant questions just to try to get a rise out of her. There was no fact finding in any of her line of questioning. She was just also objecting when she was when it was the plaintiff's side to question. She was just objecting yet again to everything left, right, and center. I mean, again, when you hire a law firm, bro, where your lead partner in the firm looks like Xenu, I mean, again, right, again. When your law firm has this dude, when you got Xenu on your team, bro, I'm just gonna see. That's Xenu, bro. All right, that's Xenu. You can't tell me that's not Xenu. Look at that and tell me this is Xenu. That is Xenu, bro. All right, that's straight up Xenu, just like South Park. Look at that. That's Xenu. So I mean, this is the kind of shenanigans that are going on in there. It's frankly hilarious because they look so stupid to the judge. They're lying to the judge. They, it's literally a clown show in there. I mean, this is who the city is burning taxpayer dollars on, while they're still committing fraud. I mean, you can't make this. You just can't make this up. Like, I don't know. So we'll see your. You guys got anything to say on today? Hold on. Y'all got anything? All right. You you got any jokes, Mr. Spindler, that you want to lay?
Well,
Here, hold on.
Let's just keep it to this court for today.
yeah, no,
Let's keep it localized and keep the heat on.
we know tomorrow.
Here, they want to hear what jokes you got for today.
What's that? Oh, jokes?
Yeah, what do you got for today?
Yeah, I mean, I'm gonna go tomorrow to the city council and tell them I'm their pope. And I'm just gonna go.
Tell them why.
Well, somebody sabotaged something at my house last night, and I nearly lost my eye. Um, these bastards have surrogates that will do this. So if something mysteriously blows up in your backyard, a sprinkler head, a sprinkler controller, if some wiring accidentally gets loose, if you smell a gas smell all of a sudden, check your cameras. You'll usually see a little 4'8" midget, and they have on the back of their neck tattooed City Hall asshole, okay? because they have these little developer douchebags, they have these nonprofit douchebags, and so they send them over to your house or your car to fuck with you, you know what I mean? And so they've been doing this for 20 years with me. So I'm just going to go tomorrow. I'm going to show the latest damage. And I'm going to say, I am your Pope. I forgive you. You're going to prison. You're going to prison. You're going to prison. I forgive you. You're going to prison. I forgive you. You know, because City Hall is finished. They're fucking done. And they stole our money. $906 billion deficit, but $2 billion is stolen. If you find half of it, we got a balanced budget. What if you found all of it? We'd have a surplus. So these
It's
people,
gone.
these bastards, these cockroaches in that building sit in those 15 chairs and they fall asleep a lot of times, or they just don't pay attention to the meeting. Every vote is automatically yes. But today, Nithya Raman Noodle, who we call Noodle, 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 Noodle. Listen to what this little bitch said today at the meeting. If you watch the city council meeting, this little cunt, who's the chair of the Homeless and Housing Committee, right? She said today on the air, and Marquise Sleazy Harris Dawson, our council president, nearly had a fucking, he nearly had a stroke. You could just see it. She goes, I pressed my button to vote no, and it doesn't work. So in other words, this stupid woman, this fucking clown, this fucking shithead, has now exposed the fact that sitting in her seat, she was not able to vote no on a single item for the whole meeting. She could only vote yes. She could not vote no.
That invalidates the whole day.
She admitted it. She just admitted it. My button's not working. Okay, so first of all, she admits you have to press a special secret red button at your desk. So she admitted that first. But then stupid says it's not working. So how many other council members' red buttons aren't working? Why do you have a red button to vote no? Don't you take the roll?
Why is it a secret red button?
Right. Don't you take the fucking roll and go, okay, the next motion is to approve the $4 billion budget. We're going to take the roll. And you call each member's name, yes or no. No, they don't do that. They have an item at the city council meeting and they go, okay, Mr. Clerk, will you open the roll, close the roll, and tabulate the vote? 14 ayes. Excuse me? Excuse me. Shut up, you little MIT Indian immigrant cunt. Shut up. Mr. President, point of order. Mr. President, point of order. Put that down. Put that goddamn button down. You're gonna send us to prison. Put that goddamn button down. My red button up. We're taking a recess. We can't. Recess. And then later on tonight, you'll probably see live Channel 5 News at 11. We're here tonight at the home of Councilwoman Nithya Raman. She has been led away tonight on a 5150 mental hold. We have the latest from the chief of police, Joe McDonald. Joe, tell us what happened. Well, it was a tragic situation. And she kept talking about a red button. She called 911 and she talked about a red button, that there was a red button. So we went out to her house and said, okay, what's going on? And she kept saying, there's a red button, stop the red button. So we looked and we didn't see a red button. Then she said there was a red button at City Hall. So we had to shut City Hall down and bring in the bomb squad and look for this quote unquote red button. After going through the tapes, we determined that the red button was some sort of red button at her chair in her city council. So we went, we looked, and we don't see any red button. Sir, what are you saying? Well, what I'm saying is there is no red button. So we currently have her at UCLA right now having a mental evaluation just to make sure she's okay. Just to make sure she's okay. And just to make sure that everything's all right. But rest assured, as me as the police chief and as Mayor Bass, I've talked to Mayor Bass, we're going to have an emergency meeting tomorrow about security. There is no red button. You are free to vote no on any motion you want. We do not collude. What about what Mr. Spindler? Mr. Spindler is a terrorist. Now, I want to make this appropriately clear. He is not allowed in any federal airport. He is on a no-fly list. We do not allow him in the building. We do not allow him outside the building. He stands at the garage at night when people are leaving work, and he's taking pictures of the VINs off of their cars. What? That's right. He's taking pictures of their windshields and their license plates, claiming he's looking for stolen cars. What kind of man does that? What kind of person talks about a red button? These people are insane.
Even if it has to do with major votes in a major city.
Yes.
With billions of dollars.
That's right. What about the $2 billion?
What $2 billion?
On the basis of counsel, I cannot answer that question as it might incriminate me. Sir, I'm sorry. I'm practicing. I'm sorry. I'm going to be practicing. I'm going to be going before the grand jury. I'm not going to be seen for a few weeks. Sources confirm that other council members have talked about the red button. What is the red button? Do you press the red button? What if you do press the red button? Is your political career over?
What does it represent?
Is the red button tied to the Trump administration? Does the red button go into Homeland Security? We talked to one council member who wishes to remain anonymous.
Remain anonymous. One time I pressed the red button in my first year, and then people came to my house and they locked me in a red rubber room because my red button was pressed.
And what happened?
I will never press the red button. Everybody knows that you never vote no. Never press the red button.
Unless you want a 5150.
If you press the red button, they will take your children out of school and file a restraining order. They will turn your electricity off. They will put you on a no-fly list. They'll give you the Spindler treatment. Don't press the red button. Whatever you do, vote yes. Don't press the red button.
Okay, so there you go. And we're going to find out about this red button tomorrow. We're going to send our journalists tomorrow to look at the voting station. Oh, I just have an email. No reporters will be allowed behind the velvet red rope. If you attempt, as a member of the media, to cross the red velvet rope, you will be immediately arrested by the Los Angeles Police Department. So what is this red velvet rope, and what does it have to do with the red button? There's a connection. And lately they've been lighting up City Hall with red lights.
Red, white, and blue?
In fact, there's one right now, a red light, with red and blue flags. So the red button, we will go into what the red button is and what started this red button. When did this red button come about? Now we go to our other anonymous witness.
Oh, one day I was cleaning underneath one of the chairs, cleaning peanuts and all kinds of chewed food underneath one of the council office's chairs. And I saw a red button. So, to be just curious, I pressed the red button.
What time was this?
Oh, it was around midnight. I pressed the red button.
And then what happened?
After my shift, I went to my bus stop to wait for my bus, and a SWAT team came. And the SWAT team put me in the back of a van and drove me down to Mexico. We crossed the border in a couple of hours. They made me take my clothes off, and they left me naked 100 miles into the Mexican border off of Ensenada. They said, "Press the red button, bitch," and they left.
These are very disturbing stories. Apparently, the city council is engaging in vote manipulation. When you come in and you check in, every vote is a yes vote. Even if you leave the room. Even like Mr. Nazarian the other day went all the way into the hallway, up to the escalator and came back down, he was still voting yes. Mr. Nazarian.
And that's my representative?
Yes. Let's ask Mr. Nazarian. Did you vote when you were outside the council chambers?
I don't know.
Look, it's not like the way it looks, okay? I can't be two places at once. I had to use the facilities. Excuse me? I had to use the facilities. What do you mean? The bathroom. And I don't want to use the bathroom behind the council office because Eunices Hernandez used it. And let's just say there was a pungent odor. So I wanted to use my bathroom on the 4th floor. So I just went out real fast and I did my business. What do you mean? I took a shit, okay? We're going to replay that. I took a beep. And when I beep, I pressed the beep, the red beep, and a beep. And I went back to my beep, and then that beep, Spindler, beep, duck, beep. And then he went back, and I see him in the hallway. And he says, "You're voting." This guy runs out in the hallway and tells me I'm voting. He tells me I'm voting. So I ran as fast as I could, and then he ran in, and he takes a picture. Luckily, Marquise, thank God, he took down everything off the screen so they couldn't prove that I wasn't in my chair and not really voting. Now, I want to be clear. Thank God they covered my tracks. I mean, I've done this all the time. You think I'm going to listen to all of this shit at these meetings? Beep. You think that I'm going to listen to these presentations? I'm on my phone, busy with my developer friends. I don't have time to listen to the public. I don't have time to read motions. They do it for me. My lobbyists tell me how to vote. They say, vote yes, vote yes, vote yes. So that's what I do. I show up and I vote yes and I leave, okay? What's the big fucking deal? You think anything's going to change? You think your vote matters? Doesn't matter. All we need is $500,000 and they decide who sits in the chair. After Curran Price gets indicted, we already have his replacement. We've already figured out who's going to be his replacement. And who is that? Well, we're going to take and dig up Maxine Waters and put her in there. We brought her skeleton the other day to introduce her to the whole concept. So you mean, this is breaking, Maxine Waters is going to become a councilwoman? Yeah.
No, they did a Biden with her.
Yeah.
She's a clone.
Right. We cloned her. Do you understand? We cloned her. Now, she's barely able to walk.
They on Biden, and
All
now
right.
they're getting it down to the local level.
We asked her the 3 questions. 1, do you know where you are? She said, maybe. Okay. Secondly, do you know how to vote automatically? Yeah, the chair votes for me. Okay. And then number 3, do you want to make $300,000 the easy way or the hard way? The easy way. And she's in. So we've already got a replacement. We know those black schmucks down there. Okay, that's it. All right, the interview. I'm sorry, we lost the tape. Do we have the tape? Oh, no. We're going to look for the tape. We had the rest of the tape, but unfortunately, we've lost the rest of that interview tape. And thank God for that, because I'm afraid Mr. Nazarian was about to say something about African Americans. I'm glad we lost that tape. I'm glad we lost. Aren't you? I'm glad. Yeah, I'm glad we lost that tape. All right. Now, let's talk about the special meeting tomorrow with Karen Bass. We're going to improve security. So, how are we going to improve security? Well, we're going to assign 100 police officers at every temple. Then, after I do that, then I'm going to have them pay for a free trip to Israel like Ghana did for me. And then I'm going to leave the city on a free junket. And I'll leave Marquise in charge. So when the next fire happens, I'll be out of the country again so I can get reelected. Because every time there's a fucking fire, I leave. Every time there's something wrong, I deflect. And I have all my media people going along with me all the way. See, that's the way it works. So there's going to be an emergency meeting. Not a special meeting, an emergency meeting. Now, I've been looking on the city council's website, and I don't see nothing about an emergency meeting scheduled. You know, I want to go to this emergency meeting.
What is the emergency?
And the emergency meeting is something happened in Colorado. And you know what they say? What happens in Colorado happens in LA. Okay? I bet the people at City Hall can't even name the fucking capital of fucking Colorado. I don't think if you put a map, they would show you on what coast that fucking state is, okay? It's like, where's Colorado, Mr. Nazarian? It's next to New Jersey. All right. And what's the capital of Colorado? Colorado City. And what happened? There was a terror attack? Yes, this Jewish man, Mohammed Solomon, went ahead and tried to put a fire on these Jewish people. It was a makeshift flamethrower.
Yeah, that's what it was.
You have any video of that? Nope.
Holocaust survivors got it.
Yeah. So you got a guy, like, speaking of that fucking thing, I got some dipshit called me about it. You do immigration before? You know, and I says, yeah. What do you think about illegal aliens? And I says, what illegal alien? Well, the guy was here and he violated his visa. And I says, really? Yeah. And I says, really, schmuck? How did he violate his visa? He came in the country legally on a 6-month visa. Before the visa expired, he filed for political asylum as a refugee from Egypt. Once you file for a refugee status, you immediately have temporary legal status. And then he got a work permit and a social security number. Sounds like he was here legally to me. Sounds like he was known to the government to me. And then I told this stupid shit, I says, ask Homeland Security this question. Before he got his work permit, did he have to take a full FBI background check? The answer is yes. So our lovely, competent government knew about Mr. Mohammed all the time. Knew about his social media, all the times that he goes, Allah Akbar, free Palestine, free Gaza. Okay? So our government goes, fuck him. Is he a threat? He's an air hole. Fuck him. It's always the quiet ones you got to watch. Well, that guy's been yelling, yeah, but you never It's always the quiet ones. Focus on the quiet ones, not those loudmouths that yell that shit. Those guys are harmless. Who said that? The greatest intelligence officer we've ever heard, Wayne Spiller. What? That's what he said. He said, always watch the quiet ones.
True.
Now, I didn't say just blindly fucking ignore the loud ones. You know, like if I go to an airport and I see a guy with a fucking machete swinging a machete, I'm not going to say, oh, don't worry about him, just focus on the quiet ones. But you do have to watch the quiet ones. The quiet motherfuckers are the ones you got to be careful about, right? They're everywhere.
They explode.
Right? Yeah. The quiet ones.
So people wanted to ask, how many people do you think over the course of years and years have ever filed an official crime report against an actual city official, like actually gone to a station and spoke with either a sergeant, a field officer, or a desk officer, or a detective, and actually filed a crime report against a city official? If you were to guess, like on a number,
In the last what?
in the last, I don't know, 5 years, let's say.
Several thousand. I mean, I would put it in degrees. I mean, they make it so fucking hard to really file a complaint and move it. But as far as making maybe legal claims against the city, violating civil rights, if you add all of those combined, Dan Gus today just went to the reporter. He just showed up today at public comment today. Just filed a $3 million claim against the city for violating his civil rights. There's one. Thousands of complaints filed with the city clerk, the city attorney, the LAPD about all kinds of crooked shit.
What does it take to make it happen in court and actually get past that point?
Man, well, first of all,
That's really the point of
the city attorney is the one who decides whether the claim moves forward. And they'll reject it. Or they won't bother to answer it up.
liability.
Yeah. So now you have 6 months after that rejection to file a lawsuit. That takes lawyers. You can file small claims. I tried that before.
Who usually shows up for those? Say you file small claims against the
claims?
city, and who is it? Some deputy from the city attorney's office?
They're not allowed attorneys technically, so they have to designate a civilian to represent the government.
So it's some sort of staffer or
Could, you know, a staffer, somebody there inside City Hall
Does not have a bar.
who's coached very fucking well. And then you get a small claims judge who's just a borderline shithead, just like a total borderline shithead. And, you know, they take the attitude, all right, so,
Who pays my paycheck?
Thank you, by the way, for the free car. Okay, what's your problem? Well, I was going to the meeting. What meeting? It's not here in the papers. What meeting? Well, excuse me, sir. I'm the judge. I'm the judge. Now, back up. What meeting did you go to? I went to the city. And? Well, they didn't let me talk. Okay. Mr. City Official.
well, under the Ralph Brown Act, speakers are not guaranteed to speak. Oftentimes we have far more people than we have time. So we use a randomizer. And we randomly select these people's names.
Okay.
And on that day, we checked our computer. The gentleman, the plaintiff, was not selected. Therefore, he was not able to speak on this day. And he sued the city and alleging his rights were violated. We don't do that, sir. Okay. What's your response, plaintiff?
They don't have a randomizer.
Okay. Show me your proof. Where's your proof?
Well, I tried to get it.
If you don't have any proof, I have nothing I can see. Judgment for the city.
Also, Your Honor, we'd like costs.
Oh, okay. Let's take a look.
what cost does the city have? Well, we had our filing fee, and we had to hire outside counsel.
Okay.
I'll see you guys.
All right. What's that?
49,000.
Okay. Granted. So, you waste your fucking time, you waste your energy, you waste your money to go and get fucked over by one of these judges that's in their fucking back pocket. So, small claims is shit. It's not going to work. So, you hire a lawyer. That's what you have to do. You got to hire a lawyer. And there's only like 7 fucking lawyers that you can hire that you have a chance to win. And there's 7. One of them's Carol Sobel. She was here today at this thing. Okay. Okay. So Carol Sobel is a famous civil rights attorney. I took a lawsuit and I almost copied verbatim her fucking style of filing, nearly paragraph for paragraph, legal citation. The court threw my case out and said I failed to state a cause of action. So later I showed the judge a Carol Sobel complaint that was sustained. And I says, well, Your Honor, mine looks exactly like hers, even better, with better grammar. You should have seen what happened next. Now, threatened me with sanctions. So, in other words, these corrupt pieces of shit judges in the city, they have a little welcome list. So, like, if they get a complaint and it's got Carol Sobel's name, for example, it moves to the front of the goddamn list. It's going to go forward. And then the city is going to go into settlement negotiations. And then you get fucking paid. But to have them, one of them 7 golden chalices, they will not take me, you. They're only going to take certain people.
Are these what we call the magic unicorn victim, where it's a family whose entire extended family was gunned down by LAPD and in a horrible accident, those type of situations?
Yeah, it's, you have to go to these 7 or 8 attorneys that have beat the city before. Carol Sobel's been around for 50 fucking years, so all they got to do, they can write shit, is put that fucking name on the top of that motherfucking paper. Attorney for plaintiff. And if that happens, you're in the fucking running. Because, they go to the same country clubs. They dine at the same fucking restaurants. They take the same vacations. And so everybody is all cordial with one another. They're going to get their attorney's fees, And the city doesn't fucking care. They're controlled opposition. As long as they're not taking and helping the assholes. See, if she ever took me and got me money, out the fucking door. So as long as you don't take those troublemaking assholes, if you take these little lambs,
I had a fair housing problem because I'm disabled.
okay, then that's it. You can take that little lamb, because that little lamb is never going to go to City Hall and take a speaker card and want 4 minutes of public comment. If you go to City Hall on a Tuesday, Wednesday, or Friday, and you go up there and you take 4 minutes, your life is fucking over in the city. You ain't going to get shit. You're not going to get city services. You're not going to get anything on your complaints. They're going to keep shitting on you and shitting on you and shitting on you and shitting on you and shitting on you. Now, the exceptions are some of the people you see, the heroes, like some of these fucking people from these nonprofits, That's shell game. Those cocksuckers are there. They're getting their money on the fucking side. And one of them opened their fucking mouth to me and said, hey, fuck you. And I says, you know what? Why don't you register? You're an unregistered lobbyist. Under the fucking rug. That motherfucker dove.
That's the same guy that keeps showing up to the Housing and Homelessness Committee. That's a tall dude, right?
Every meeting. Tall guy. You'll see nothing a ramen noodle, okay? Noodle. Okay, here's the way she treats me. Okay, come on, all right, start his clock. All right, you're not coming up to the podium fast enough. Just start his clock. That's me. This cocksucker.
Oh, hello, Adam. Come on up. What would you like to talk on?
See, he'll talk about the cities not treating these people fair. Okay, controlled opposition. See, working with them fucking nonprofit. See, but they're controlled opposition. This is the way that City Hall can say, hey, these people don't use foul language.
Well, even worse with that
Right.
guy, he's specifically from Skid Row and has affiliation with the Skid Row Trust Fund, which was
Sure.
known for massive hemorrhaging of money through tons of fraud. And we actually heard from Lisa Ragas earlier this week on her testimony on the fraud that occurred. And so for that guy to get such special treatment, and I actually talked to him before, and he was interrupted for like 2 seconds. It was totally a synthetic makeup of how he was cut off. It was, in my eyes, 100% orchestrated. And when I went up to him afterwards to say, hey, you need to do a cure and correct, and here's what that is, he told me to go fuck myself too. So I know that for sure that guy has been around, because I've seen him for the year that I've been coming here. So he's not new, and it makes
He's been
sense.
around. He used to go to a lot of police commission meetings. He's been around so long, he used to bring his kids in a stroller. Those kids are like fucking taller than him now. I mean, these guys are multi-generational, okay? And what it is, you'll see another guy that's here, that's going to these hearings, you'll see him with the beard, okay? That guy about 6-7 years ago needed housing. He'd come in here and have a fucking meltdown.
I got a fucking housing. I can't get my bathroom. I can't fix my toilet.
Okay, that's the way he started. Then one day, he changed. He started having a tie and a shirt. He came with a tie and a shirt one day. Thank you, Miss City Councilman. Things are better now. See, this way. What happened? They gave him a fucking apartment. Paid for, bought, right? Because City Hall has all this free shit. Free tickets to the Lakers, the Super Bowl, the Oscars, the Grammys, free apartments.
Well, the worst part is last week at the Housing and Homelessness Committee, which I actually am, and I said, all right, in the meeting during public comment, I'm homeless and I need a room. I need assistance. You know what happened? Nothing. Nobody approached me whatsoever. And in fact, I had to have audit talk to one of the LAPD officers who then went and got a staffer who then got my info, but then they never reached out to me afterwards. And I'm going to bring it up this week. So, yeah, that checks out. That 100% checks out. That of course would be the case. This guy was suited up with a room, and not just any room, by the way. Not what these guys are going through. Right. Not the real, but the nice stuff.
Nice stuff.
Yeah. So,
See, they can do anything. They can fix your tickets. They can get your criminal cases expunged. They can talk the DA out of felony charges. They can get you your kids back if they took them from social services. They have the power of fucking God. Every council member has control over 225,000 people each. Any project that goes in their district lines, the borders that are on those lines, is completely in the discretion of the councilman. Council member don't want it, it ain't fucking going. You could have 14 members that want it. If the council member doesn't want it, fuck you. The exception, after the leak tape with Nuri, when the late Gil Cedillo was still here, and he lost his re-election. So in March he lost his re-election, and then he was there till lame duck till December the 1st. Okay, once they knew he was going to be a goner, they started opposing projects in his district. And he was like, oh, we changed the rules? Now, things that are in my district that I don't want, now all of a sudden you're going to overrule me. And the other council members said, yeah, that's right. Because he was on the fucking outs. And then you had Kevin De Leon, known as Mr. Lion. Now, Kevin De Leon slithered his way into this job, okay? I mean, he started out as a complete Sacramento snake. Turned out, used to be a big Sacramento guy. President of he was the first Latino that was the president of the state Senate. So, anyway, you can only serve term limits 12 years. So, he got the term limit. So, what do these term limit guys do? Where do they want to land? City council or the mayor. Well, he wanted to run for mayor. So, what did he do? He ran for city council first. And he won easily. So, he was involved in some outside contracts as a consultant. So, the scumbag that used to be the council president, Nuri Luisa Martinez, who we called Mommy. Okay, I used to call her Fatso and all kinds of nice names. Well, I called her Mommy.
We knew Mommy. Where's my mommy?
Because one day she said to me, don't act like a baby. I don't provide help. I don't provide child care. And once she said that, she went, oh shit. And her name became Mommy. Now we go,
Hey, Mommy. Don't you want to hear from me, Mommy, you fat bitch?
So while she was going through that, the scandal tape leak broke. So now, when Kevin won, Kevin was not going to be able to be seated because our new fucking rules changed. March used to be the primary, May was the runoff, and you took your seat July 1st. They changed it to every even year, and then the primary takes place in March, the runoff not all the way till November. But if you win the primary by more than 50%, you don't take your office for another 9 months. So Nuri Luisa said, well, that's not fair. The fucking district doesn't have a council member. Why? The council member used to be indicted felon Jose Luis Huizar. So Huizar was just showing up, getting a paycheck, and then he was getting ready to serve his 13 years in federal prison. So Nuri made a motion to let him start early. So Kevin got a couple of months early. What he forgot to do was take care of some of that prior business. And then recently we had an ethics complaint filed about that, right? So anyway, so Kevin was like them in the beginning. Madam President, he got up there one day. This individual comes up here and uses the N-word and the F-word. And that's highly offensive to me and highly offensive to the other council members. And I think we need to discuss with the city attorney on limiting that type of behavior. So now they went around the room. So Kevin spoke first. This is before the tape. And then Mr. Cedillo spoke and said, I have staffers that have to listen to these people. I think it's labor abuse. Okay, so Nuri, they talk about women, they talk about gays, they talk about us as Latinas, and me as a Latina cannot stand people using the N-word. Remember this. And they're going around the horn. So anyway, a couple of months later, there was a tape that was released of a confidential meeting. And they're talking about blacks being monkeys. They were talking about one of the gay council members that has a black kid, using his kid as a handbag. And this shit all came out into the public that these council members who were making rules to try to ban my speech because I have a potty mouth are caught on this tape with language exceeding what I do. And when that happened, all fucking changed. So then Kevin became a good guy because Kevin was not even able to get into the building. They weren't going to let him in the building. And so they told Kevin to go home. Council president at the time, Paul Krikorian, who we called the goat herder, he told Kevin, resign. Kevin said, fuck that. And then what happened? Nuri Louisa goes home and resigns. She was the first Latina council president, the first woman council president, resigns with 8 years and 7 months of service on the council.
You know, that's so funny because I've talked about this before, but
7 years.
the whole gender identity and just racial identity is such a common trope here.
Yep.
At the Sherman Oaks Homeowner Association, you know how Heidi actually began her speech where she was called to be one of the keynote speakers?
Yep.
She literally started in her first sentence where I am a Jewish Latina and the first Latina city attorney of Los Angeles, as if any of that has any relevance to her competency and her criminality.
No.
And every time she starts her speeches, that's exactly how she does it each and every time. I'm the first Latina city attorney of Los Angeles. Okay, you're still a crook.
Well, she's the first Puerto Rican Jewish city attorney, female. Okay, now, what the fuck does that have to do with your ability to file criminal charges and get a conviction, make our streets safe, not lie, not cover up crime? Well, see, those are boxes. You got to check those PC boxes, okay? The more PC boxes you check, the better. Because at the end of the day, they get caught. What's the deal? They're racist. They're homophobic. They're anti-woman. They're anti-Latino. They're anti-Jewish. They're anti-Semitic. See, that's to get ready when the FBI comes to these fucking scumbags. You know, and see, the FBI is kind of funny the way they do things. They have Mac Jenkins, a black man that is the chief of the FBI's criminal public corruption task force. Yeah. You had Mr. Estrada, that was the first Guatemalan immigrant Latino United States attorney. You had Carolyn Dotson and 2 other women that were on the team. You had an Asian woman, a Jewish woman, a Caucasian woman, a black woman head of the FBI, an Italian-American gentleman that was Agent Civilli. So at the end of the day, the FBI and the U.S. Attorney had a press conference right here, and they parade these guys all out, and it's the United fucking Nations. You're like, well, let's see, can I check these goddamn boxes? Goddamn! Black, check. Gay, check. Woman, check. Jewish, check. Latina, check. See, they're already going to check all them fucking boxes when they line the team up. Because they're going to demonstrate, we don't give a fuck where you come from, what your nationality is, what your perceived problem, whatever the game. We got somebody on our team on the other side like that. So then the question's going to be, okay, how come the FBI has got a black woman in charge, but you got a corrupt black woman stealing money in the fucking political circle? Why? Okay, because why?
Because I'm a woman of color.
And go, well, then how come this lady's Jewish American? How come she doesn't steal and she's a woman of color? How come this is a man? How come this man's gay? They got all the boxes checked.
Yeah.
So they're going to come out with 20, 30 people on this fucking team, okay? And they completely wash the whole fucking narrative away. But another thing that the FBI does is they recruit. And they go to the middle of America, deep into the cornfields of Iowa, Nebraska, Oklahoma, Kansas, Missouri. So you know where I'm from, Missouri. Mississippi, Alabama, all right? Now, they like to go into those places and recruit field agents. See, they go into the heartland, like Steeder Brothers, right? I mean, the FBI should go. In the heartland, we're FBI agents in the heartland. Okay, so now you get these Midwest boys and girls. Why? Because they grow up on a fucking farm. Now, you grow up on a fucking farm, right? What the fuck do you know? You know about chickens, you know about cows, you know about going to church on Sundays. Your ma and your pa have been married since they were 16. They've been fucking dating, right? So you get all these little country boys and girls, and then they apply to go to college. So here comes the feds. Cigarette. Hey, let me talk to you. You want to talk to me, sir? Whoa, shit. Pardon me for using that word, sir.
No, that's okay. I want to talk to you.
Oh, yes, sir. That would be an honor, sir.
You got good manners, kid. What do you study?
Criminal justice.
What do you want to be?
I want to be a sheriff.
Is that right? How come?
Well, when I was growing up, I watched reruns of Adam 12 and all the police shows, and my grandfather used to be a police officer.
Yeah? What does your father do?
My father's a farmer, sir. Can you see? You can mold and shape a fucking guy like that, right? So that's what they do. And they send their ass to the academy. Now, they transfer them here. Now they bring them here to do the work, groundwork. So now they walk into City Hall. And they sit down and they look at these people. And these guys go, holy cow. I never knew people like this really existed. I thought it was like on Netflix. I've never seen real gangsters before. Wow, these are real gangsters. So now our City Hall people go to them and go, hey, let me talk to you, kid. I'm from City Hall. Well, I don't think, I think this is a conflict.
No, I just want to talk to you. You like cars?
Oh, sure, I like cars.
I got a Porsche in my garage and it's not doing nothing. How about you come out and we drive it around?
No, I don't think that's right. In my handbook, I have it right here, my handbook, my FBI handbook on page 24, it says that would be a conflict of interest. No, I'm sorry, sir, I can't do that.
Kid, I'm going to give you the title.
Well, no, on page 39, that would constitute a bribe. And no, I could never do that, sir. So, they take these totally honest kids, all right, and they bring them in to do these corruption probes. What do? As soon as it's done, they move the fucking team to another state. Now, we have people that have stayed here because anybody that stays in LA, I don't care how fucking good they are, within a few years they get rotted from the inside out. Just rotted. Because this place is rotten. Just look at it. Look at how rotten it is. Look how quiet it is now. Mm-hmm. See, what's happening now? Why is it so quiet? All right? Well, see, everybody, it's very busy in the daytime. Everybody's basically getting off the freeway. So if you want a secret, like if you're here right now and you want to get on the freeway, right? And you want to go to Sherman Oaks, it's going to take you 3 fucking hours. But I have a rule, the 8:45 p.m. rule. If you get on the freeway at exactly 8:45 p.m., you can drive 75 miles per hour nonstop. 8:45 is the bewitching hour, right? So what happens? All these people go home, right? So the first thing they do is they got to look for the drugs because they're out of fucking drugs.
Honey, you got more pills? No, you used the last pills. Well, the council member said, no, she didn't give me any of my pills. Well, I need pills. Where's my pills, bitch? You know how much stress I'm under working for them? Goddamn fucking judges up our ass.
Okay, so everybody's on fucking pills, alcohol, barbiturates.
Hold on. Oh, I got to show you.
Okay.
We'll end it on this one. So I was doing a poll earlier, and I want to get your opinion. All right. So I want to you can't even.
This is gonna be good.
Have you seen the South Park episode with Scientology and the Xenu story where they show the whole Tom Cruise bit?
Oh, those guys are brilliant. Oh yeah, I mean they're,
So,
they're
the-
friggin' amazing.
Does this guy look like Xenu?
Oh Jesus Christ, it's him. Look at that alien head. What's in there? That is an alien head.
That's Xenu. I've been telling people this is Xenu.
That's him. See, so if you thought he
That's
didn't
Xenu.
exist- see, if you thought he didn't exist, there he is, right? There he is, man, and you can catch him speaking his real language.
And he's the lead attorney for the city of Los Angeles. And with that, that's a wrap. Thank you guys. We'll see you on the next one.
That's the performance actor. Did he do the hand today? Was he talking?
Oh, he did the hand today.
Did he
He
do the hand? Yeah, you gotta do the hand.